Welcome back, y'all, and happy Friday. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. Today, we're going to be jumping into the transfer portal for our basketball and for our football team. There's some great news going on right now with our basketball team, but for the football team, man, we gotta start to get some things going. Like, it's getting down to crunch time, so we're going to kind of go through, everything that I've learned over the past couple of days, and all the way up to this point, and just bring it to you, so y'all can also share y'all's thoughts with me. As always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. So we're going to start right here with the basketball portion of it. So these are the targets, right? And we looked at this before. So you look all the way down at the bottom. The ones that are in purple means that they've already gone somewhere else. So Wilkerson, that's the guard that he was from Sam Houston. Great size. He can shoot. He can score. Really wanted Tennessee to go out and add him because I feel like he could play 2 or 3. But the very positive thing is if you look at Freeman, and if you also look at Nate, okay, Nate, obviously, I think he's like a top 5 player in the 2025 class. So both of those guys, at 6'9", 6'8", they can play wing. I think that they can maybe play some 2 for you in certain situations. They can also play 4. Very, very versatile. Tennessee's in a great spot with both of these guys, okay? So I think that Nate would probably be the highest ranked player that Tennessee has signed. So I'm actually pull up his highlights for you while I'm just kind of talking about him. So adding him would be absolutely huge. It sounded like it was between us and Duke. And what's been going on with Duke is obviously they've got a whole bunch of 5 stars. Pretty much everybody on their roster, they're all kind of like one and done guys. Some of them stay longer, but they're like on that level of talent. If they haven't reached it in their first season, then by their second season, you know what I'm saying? They're probably going to get their second, third season, but they have so much talent. So one of the questions was, would Nate want to come to Tennessee and, be the guy, or would he want to go to Duke and be one of the guys? Now, something did come out here recently. I think one of their wings, I think that he left the team or he was dismissed from the team. I don't know exactly what it is. So that could that could open things up for Nate. But I feel good. All the insiders feel good about it. I think he actually got crystal ball to Tennessee. So that would be absolutely huge. Again, he's going to be a one and done guy, but just look at his talent here. He can shoot from the outside. Okay, obviously he can score from the inside. Something else that I've heard that I think is probably true for him is that he didn't want to go to a team where he's going to have to play for. He wants to play more wing. If you want to go on to the NBA at 6'8", 6'9", that's like a wing. In a lot of situations, that's like a 2. So, he has to be able to show that he can handle that basketball, that he can score and drive and do things like that. He doesn't want to get pigeonholed into, hey, you can only see me playing at 4, just because I think that it helps out with his draft stock. So because Tennessee's front court, and we'll take a look at that here in just a second, because Tennessee's front court is already pretty much done, I will actually say this. I wouldn't mind if Tennessee could go out and add like a true stretch 4, somebody like an Iggy who's like 6'10", that can shoot, but can also play down low. I think that would be great. That's, that would maybe be a little bit more of a luxury because, like I said, either one of these guys can play some 4 for us in certain situations. But yeah, I just think that looking at his skill set, understanding how good he's going to be for this team comes in immediately and puts us in a great spot. Like, we talked about Cooper Flagg. Who's the guy that Tennessee's going to get that can guard a Cooper Flagg, that can guard some of these, really like potential first round or, potential number 1 overall draft picks? This is a guy right here who can definitely do that. So I'm going to go on to the next player. Okay. And the next player, like we just touched on, is Freeman. So he played at LMU last season. That's D2, but you can see his size. He's listed as a 4-star coming out of the portal. But I also really like his game. It's going to be similar to Nate's game, but the difference here, and that's not him. This is him right here. So this is his college stuff. The difference here, I would say, is that obviously Nate, he's a one-and-done guy. With Freeman, he would be, he might take him a couple years to, go on to the league. So we could have him for a longer period of time. Obviously, there will be some situations where we could have them both on the floor at the same time if we get them both. But, he's a guy that primarily would be coming off of the bench, I think. So coming off of the bench, having a guy with this type of size that can shoot, that can score down low. His numbers at LMU are just ridiculous. But he's a guy that people have been saying, well, we don't know, will his shooting translate to the SEC or to the higher levels, which I don't understand that. I'm not some basketball expert, but for me, if you can shoot, you can shoot. Like, what's today is not, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, the people will be bigger, but that's not going to be a problem for him because he's already tall. So it's not like he's going to have to shoot over everybody, right? He's going to have a pretty easy shot. He's going to be taller than most people that's going to be guarding him. So I don't understand some of the stuff that they throw out there with basketball. I told y'all, for me, he was the number one guy on my board for the transfer portal because of his skill set. But now understanding that potentially Tennessee could have both of these guys, that's huge. I mean, I can't think back to the last time that Tennessee had two wing players of this size with this skill set that can run the daggum court, that can dribble. You know what I'm saying? Like they have good handles and all of that. So yeah, that would be huge, man. And I'm super proud of what Coach Barnes is doing. And I'm gonna get to some of these chats right here. Let me make sure y'all that y'all can see what I'm putting up here. So if y'all can't see any highlights or any of that, just please let me know. So right here from Foil Fanatic saying it might have been Rodney Rice that they showed with Rick Barnes on the orange and white game. Okay, yeah, and we're going to talk about him in just a second, and also saying that we'd love to pick him up. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good segue. We can go ahead and come back to this and talk about Rodney Rice. So he was teammates with the point guard that we just got from Maryland. I think that they were actually roommates, so they're really close. And he came and visited us. Like last Friday, like the chat just said there, during our orange and white game. I think that he was there for that weekend. So he was up there. Sounds like the visit went very well. He told the people that were interviewing him afterwards, he's like, man, I'm done with these visits. But then like right after that, he goes on to USC. So USC is a name that's kind of being mentioned there. I don't know what's going to happen here. I really like his game. I mean, obviously, I think that he could help us out. He would be that too. And I think that Tennessee needs a starting two. And it just kind of feels like, I don't know if money is the ultimate factor for him, but it does sound like Tennessee's not going to be the highest bidder for him. Now, it sounds like for Nate, Tennessee's in that same ballpark with everybody else. But for Rodney Rice, I don't think Tennessee's, I don't know exactly where we're at. I just know that we're not the highest bidder. Excuse me. So we'll see there. I'm thinking that we still have a pretty good shot. I think that he likes Tennessee. I know that one of his I don't know if it was his previous coach in Maryland, but someone that coached him before went to Villanova. That's another school that's up there that's been mentioned with it. But overall, I feel pretty strong. If we can get those two wings, that was the biggest thing for me. I think that you can go and find some daggum guards. You know what I mean? So let me show you how the roster looks currently. I think again, front court should be solid. Outside of, can you go and find like a stretch four, which maybe one of the guys that's already on the roster could maybe grow into that. But I'm thinking that JP and Felix will probably be, maybe both playing at center. I don't know how the start lineup is going to look at the 4 spot, but I would maybe like to go out and find somebody there. But outside of that, it's really just about guard play. So, Evans, the freshman coming in, I think he's going to be really good. He's probably going to have to play. I've talked about Bishop Boswell. I think he's going to take that step forward. He's going to have to get his scoring picked up for sure. But, I think that will happen. And what we've heard from the insiders here, I think that I got this from VolQuest. They're saying that they wouldn't be shocked if Tennessee, once it's all said and done, even if we added Rodney Rice along with those two wings, they said that Tennessee might try to go like overseas and find some guy. And I'm fine with that, man. Like, if you've got, again, especially two big wings that can do a lot of different things, you can fill in spots because you got to dedicate people to those big, tall guys that are pretty much impossible to stop. Get some spot up shooters. Get some people that aren't, scared to play rough, tough, physical brand of basketball. And I think Tennessee's going to be ready to rock and roll, baby. So let me get to this right here from my dog, Lamont Jr. saying GBO. Yes, sir. Go Vols from Matthew Wilkins saying long time no see, boy. Yeah, man. Hopefully you've been doing well. Hopefully everyone's been doing well. So now I want to go on ahead and start a transition into the football stuff. Y'all can always come back to the basketball stuff. If y'all have some thoughts and all of that, you can always, we can always double back and bring these things back up. But now let's talk about Tennessee safety room, because now we've lost two. We talked about John Slaughter leaving. Love John Slaughter. That's P&R's, that's P in mind, dude. But then we also lost Christian Charles. So I said at first, whenever Slaughter left, I said, well, Tennessee's got some depth here. We got Christian Charles, who's typically banged up. I think last season might have been his most healthy season, but he's played everywhere inside of Tennessee secondary. Versatile player. I thought that he played well at safety last season too. It sounds like he might have been fighting to be a starter this season. I think that John Slaughter probably would have also been fighting to start. But those two guys, again, they're in purple because they're gone. They hit the portal. Can we find a way to maybe bring one of them back? I mean, I'd be happy if we could bring both of them back. I don't know how realistic or feasible any of that is. But what it sounds like with Christian Charles is he might have gotten an offer that was better than what Tennessee was offering him. It also sounds like Tennessee was ready to, pull his offer up, we're going to pay him more if he did stay. But I guess whatever we're offering just was not enough. So at this point, we're looking at Andre Turntime. We're looking at Kobe Thomas, probably going to be starting. And then we've got a couple of guys behind them. What is Jordan? If Jordan Thomas is healthy, I think that we feel fine. But how healthy is he? I don't know that anyone really knows. I don't know that they've seen him running or anything like that. He hasn't even started doing that yet. So, he's still kind of a ways off. So that's a huge red flag, at least for me. And then we also, we've got several other players here, but they're all younger. So it's not going to be as much depth as obviously we felt like it would be coming into the season. Really, safety was a spot that I said you could look at it on paper and maybe say, well, these guys weren't necessarily very highly rated coming out of high school. But I felt like with them being older and being acclimated to this system, and really even just watching them in that orange and white game, I think that they looked good. Like, we looked really good. The coverage looked good. But you take that type of stuff kind of with a grain of salt. The whole point here is that I do think Tennessee needs to go to the transfer portal and add at least one body. Now, it's not just about this safety room that we're looking at here. We've got some other players that I wouldn't have listed that could probably play some safety. Caleb Beasley is in there that I know people will be bringing up, but I think Caleb Beasley is the guy that they want to have as the backup star player. I mean, that's what you want, but is it realistic? Can we still do that now because we're shorthanded? I don't know. If it's not going to be, and I think that to find that backup star might be more important than finding one of these second or third string backup safeties. The reason for that is because Boo wants to play both sides, okay? Offense, defense, special teams. So he's playing in all three phases. You got to have somebody that you trust, because Boo's not going to be able to play defense as much in 2025. So that backup star is probably more critical to this team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb Beasley kind of sticks there, but they use him as a guy, hey, if we have to put you over at safety, we can do that. But I do want to show y'all this, okay? This is how the portal is looking. And of course, this is from On3. So this is how the safeties look, man. These are the ones that are in there right now. So we see that we're seeing that Miami is losing a couple of safeties. This guy right here, Patterson, this is the one that, I kind of like him. Haven't really watched him too much. I watched a little bit, and that was early on. That was, just kind of going through and saying, hey, what if Tennessee wants a safety? Who's some of the names? He popped into the portal, so I looked at him briefly. Haven't gone in depth to look at him just yet, but he will be a name that I'll be looking out for. Obviously, we can't go get any of these SEC guys, but that's what I think that's the biggest, or one of the biggest things, is that right now in this spring window, you don't want to be looking for too many things in this window, because it's not going to be SEC caliber for the most part, and also it's going to probably cost you more money. There's a lot of things going on. We know that the House settlement, they're finalizing that. Okay, I don't know exactly when it's going to be finalized, but it's probably going to be pretty soon. So that's going to have a pretty large bearing. I know that people are scared. They're saying, hey, we want to make as much NIL money as we possibly can before they change it. If they change it, nobody knows how that's going to work. So, it's just, there's a lot of things that's working against Tennessee. Obviously, whoever we do bring in, these guys are not going to, it's going to be, so defense probably won't be as difficult, but if it's on offense, it's tough. You got to learn a whole new system, and you got to be ready to rock and roll. But, good thing is we do have some safeties that we feel like, we trust that can start. I don't see a whole lot of names out there. I talked about Brian Urlacher's son, who I think would be a rising sophomore, second year guy. He jumped into the portal. I didn't really watch him much either. He's coming from Notre Dame. Seems like we're going to Notre Dame a lot to get players, but we have to keep a close eye out on who else is going to jump into the portal from safety. It's not just about quarterback, which we are about to transition to, but it's about everything that Tennessee needs. So, we have to be doing some daggum tampering. All right. I don't know, Spire Sports, wherever it is that reaches out to these kids, they're working overtime right now. I mean, do they have enough people that they need to go hire some more folks? Because, how much time can you dedicate to just looking at one individual person? I mean, it takes a lot of time to work all this stuff behind the scenes. So I think people are kind of starting to figure it out that we're not in the best spot. I've kind of tried to say this as soon as Nico left. This is going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. The more people that leave us, the more difficult things will be, because we got to go and add things. Again, I think that we're relatively fine at safeties because we have plenty of people, but you probably want to go out and add at least one more guy. Could be a young guy, could be a veteran, whatever, but you probably need to go target somebody. All right, so I also want to talk about this real quick while y'all are just kind of like looking at this stuff here, looking at the strengths and weaknesses of Tennessee's team in 2025. So it does sound like this is something else that I've been watching very closely from the insiders, and I can tell you, like with VolQuest, whenever you read their stuff, they there's certain things that they can't tell you, right? Like they can't tell you certain things, but they try to give you those hints. And I'm not always going to be 100% on with those hints. I could be over processing, but from what I gathered, it does sound like Tennessee is going to be losing a few more players. Like we said, whenever they enter into the portal, they have to give the paperwork to the school. The school has 48 hours to get them into the portal from that point. So they're going to know who's putting their paperwork in. Sounds like some paperwork has been put in, and we could expect some more names to be hitting the portal, leaving Tennessee within these next couple of days. Now, I think that it's only on weekdays, so we might not see anything necessarily tomorrow. Doesn't mean that we won't, but I would say that from today to maybe like tomorrow morning, from today to maybe like Saturday morning, and then looking at really Monday morning, we're probably going to see some more names heading into the portal, leaving Tennessee. And it sounds like it's going to be guys that are kind of like fringe starters, so second string guys. Larry Johnson is a name that we brought up before. I think that he could potentially hit the portal. We don't know that for sure, but maybe. And, again, I think that tackle is a spot that we've got some good depth at. Want to hold on to a Larry Johnson for sure, because I think that he could probably still start, him or David Sanders, either one. They both look great, but I can't speculate too much else, or, I can't speculate too much more on some of the other spots that Tennessee could be losing some people from. But it does sound like that is coming. And again, it doesn't feel or sound like it's going to be people that are like surefire starters. Okay, so let's go on. All right, so this is y'all have already seen this, right? Because we had this up. These are the strengths and weaknesses. All right, so this is what Tennessee needs to target. All right, I probably should have added safety to this list. We will see what happens. But quarterback, right? And we've already talked about wide receivers some. I haven't seen anything new that's popped into the portal just yet. Tackles, I've seen a couple of guys that have good size that maybe you want to go target, but there really is not a lot for us to choose from. But I do want to get to a name that a lot of folks have been bringing up. Okay, so just talking about quarterbacks. The first one that everyone keeps on talking about is right here, Steve Angeli. So looking at his size, okay, he's 6'2", all right, about 200 pounds. You can see that he didn't do very much last season. Obviously, he did play at Notre Dame. But, for me, okay, and I'm going to show y'all. So I think that he threw the football 37 times last season. I don't know what these stats say. I'm going off of PFF. Let me see. What do these say? So these say, okay, so this says last season he threw the ball 36 times. PFF says it was 37, and he hit on 24 of them. So I'm going to show you the 24 that he hit on. It's going to start off with his rushes. He really only ran the football like 3 or 4 times. He's not, he's not the absolute fastest guy, but actually I'm going to come back to this just so I can show you this. I think that with him, okay, I know that a lot of people love him, but for me, he's just Gaston Moore. Like that's his skill set to me. And he actually kind of looks like Gaston Moore to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but he looks like he could be like Gaston Moore's brother or cousin or something. Like they look very, very similar. I know that doesn't really mean anything. I just wanted to kind of point that out there. And I'm curious if y'all think that they look pretty similar too. But either way, to me, that's who he is. There's not going to be a whole lot of wiggle to his running game. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I think Gaston Moore has a nice skill set. He's a guy that's going to be – he's a game manager, okay? He's not going to go win you games. I know people talked about Nico. They said, man, Nico, he didn't win us any games last season. I don't know if you think that this guy would I don't know if you think that he would do it, but he is the prototype to me. He's a prototypical like backup sort of a player. And I'm not saying that to like dog him, but I just don't think that he fits Tennessee's system. I don't think he fits it well pretty much at all. Most of his throws here is underneath stuff. He does have a pretty good arm. I think that he's accurate. He's not like a gunslinger. Like he's not one of those ballers. I think Tennessee needs a baller, or if you want to get a guy that, maybe I should say it this way. I would take George, or I would take Merck over him like all day long. I think that their skill set's better. It doesn't mean that they're going to 100% operate the offense better to start the season off, but as the season wears on, they give you a higher ceiling and a higher chance to win some of these big games going down to the swamp late in the season. I mean, come on, man. Like that's a totally different beast. I just don't think that he's not that type of player to me at all. If we want to go out and get him, then why not just go get Gaston Moore? Because Gaston Moore is going to pretty much give you the exact same thing, but he knows the system a lot better. There's no learning curve, so we can just pick things up. He can pick it up from where he left off at. I mean, shoot, he could probably coach this offense because he's been in it for so long. So that's kind of how I feel here. And I don't know what y'all think. Y'all let me know. But he's not one. He's not. You know what I'm saying? Like I just that just wouldn't be what I do unless there's a situation. And we have heard that, like we talked about, Spire Sports, they're reaching out to people. Okay, call it tampering, call it whatever. This is, to me, I call it modern day college football. That's what everyone's doing. You got to go try to get somebody in the portal. You know what I'm saying? But it does sound like some quarterbacks have used Tennessee as leverage to get some more money. It sounds like there's some quarterbacks like yesterday. It sounds like there was a quarterback that was interested in Tennessee early on, and then halfway through the day, they're like, no, I'm just going to pass it. But then later on, they came back and said, well, there's still a chance. So I don't know exactly what these guys are looking at. And if, again, kind of like reading between those lines, looking at what I've seen on VolQuest, just for me personally, I feel like they were talking about Rocco Beck with that. That's just me. I could be totally off. I'm speculating. So don't take it and run with it and say that that's exactly what it is. But that's how I feel. So he would be a guy now, and we'll actually look at him here in just a minute. I would love to get him. Now, he's a totally different story. I think that he could make some things happen. Like we said, Tennessee's offensive scheme from last year, I don't think any of these guys would have been able to operate it. Really, the only player that would be feasible for Tennessee to go out and get, that I feel like could actually operate Tennessee's system from last year would be George. G-Mac's the only guy that I look at and I say, okay, he actually has the skill set where he can do this, because you need such a strong arm. And he showed a little bit of ballerism to him too. You know what I'm saying? Like looking at the orange and white game. But saying all those things just to say, now the scheme, not even just the scheme, but the way that we're calling plays, looks totally different, where you're going to get some of these kind of like dink and dunk routes that you're seeing here. You're getting some better route combinations. Notre Dame's offense is nothing like Tennessee's offense. I'm going to tell you that right here, right now. It's like, it is nowhere near the same. You're going to see some things that might look the same, but the way that it's operated, it is not. Like this stuff, you have to scheme people open for, I think, for a quarterback like this on a way higher level than you would for Merck or for GMAC or for some of the other quarterbacks that we've talked about. So that's what I'm saying. If we were to add him, I mean, the offense would have to be like, I think right here. Yeah. So he's in pistol here. I do remember that there was one play where he was in pistol. It is this one. So, he could probably operate pistol at a pretty decent level, but he's not a real threat to run. That's something else that people just don't understand with Tennessee's offense is you look at those numbers, you see, okay, running backs got all these yards, blah, blah, blah. But what you don't see is that part of it is because of the way that Tennessee's offense, the offensive flow goes. The quarterback uses their legs. So the defense has to key in on the quarterback. That opens up things for the run, for the run to those backs. That's why, like, you need to, like, let's just say, if you put a quarterback like this or any quarterback that isn't overly mobile or like isn't mobile really, period, you put them back there, especially if you're spreading that field out, which Tennessee will still do. All teams are going to do is they're going to say, hey, look, we're going to man up outside because we don't believe that you can even make these throws. We're going to double dog dare you to make these tough throws, and we're going to stack up the box, and we're not going to let you run, and we'll see, can your offense flow that way? We don't have to key on the quarterback off of the read options and, none of that. We don't have to do it. We're going to key in off of that running back, and we're going to stop that. We're going to stack up that box. That's what we're talking about. That's why it's a certain skill set that Tennessee quarterbacks need. This is another portion of it. I know that I have a lot of things to talk about here, okay? But there's another portion of this that people, I think, didn't maybe realize at first. Maybe most people did, but there's some people who are loud on things. It's probably not representative of the entire fan base. But, if people will look at this situation, okay, like quarterbacks is especially what I'm talking about. And while I'm talking about that, I'm going to bring up Rocco. All right, we're going to bring Rocco back up. But quarterbacks look at this situation and they say, okay, so Nico, who all these quarterbacks will know, some of these quarterbacks were in Nico's class. I guarantee you they've seen his highlight tape. They've seen him at 7-on-7 stuff. Like, they've watched him. That's just what players do. You're going to try to size yourself up, right? You're going to see, what are they doing here? Like, where am I better at? How do I, or how can I get better? Whatever. So they know Nico. They know his skill set. His skill set is, I'm going to say it again, it's as high as him and Arch. There's no higher skill set. We were never going to go find a quarterback that was more talented. This was not going to happen. So they're saying, okay, well, the fan base is not happy with how he executed with their offense. 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 picks. Those aren't outstanding numbers, but he still, we went to the playoffs last season. Okay, we beat most of our rivals, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think that people are looking at that and they're saying, okay, well, if he couldn't, if he wasn't good enough, how the hell am I going to be good enough? Now, some people might see it that way, but other people might say, well, I can operate better. But I'm sure that they probably know inside of their heart that, man, my arm is not like this, my speed is not like this. So I think that makes it even more difficult. On top of, we got to go get a veteran guy. This is probably, I'm sure they want for this to be their last season playing. So it's tough to leave what you know, especially if you had a good season last year. Why would you want to leave everything that you know, a system that you know, that you're comfortable with? The fan base is fine with you. You know, you're pretty much a freaking hero there, most of these guys, right? To come to a fan base that's looking for someone to not just, take over for Nico, but to be better than Nico. And if they're not better than Nico, then, you're going to get blasted. Like, people are thinking about all these things. That's just human nature. But that's why I always say there really is no need to go out on social media and bash these guys. It'll make you feel good to yourself for, temporarily, but what is it doing to the team? It's actually hurting us more than it's helping us. That's not helping. So I think that we are in a very, very tough spot. We're not gonna, some people talked about, well, Nico wanted too much money, or he was already getting overpaid. We're not. I mean, that's the floor. Okay. That $2.5 million, that's the floor for quarterbacks that are less talented. All right. Now, again, I think that Rocco could do some really nice things. He's got some things that I might like maybe a little bit better than Nico for the new style of Tennessee's offense, maybe. In some ways, maybe you can make that argument. But I think that he would do fine. So that's kind of where I'm at. Is it's like, we got to find a guy, and I'm also show you Luke Altmaier from Illinois. I know this is another name that people really like. He's another one. Like I said, he's not overly mobile, but he's more mobile than the first kid that we just looked at, for sure. He's definitely more mobile than that. But he also, I think, has a liver arm. But so Tennessee's in a really tough spot. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be tough for us to go out and find somebody that's like starting caliber. I think that, again, there could be two really good situations, or there could be, I'm going to say the two best situations would be, number one, we go out and get one of these guys that we're talking about here. They want to leave everything that they know and come and take the chance to learn a new system in 3 months and be able to gel well with this team, with some unproven wide receivers and things like that. Very, very talented, but still unproven. I think Tennessee obviously still has to go out and add a wide receiver. Haven't heard any smoke there at all. That's going to be a little bit of an issue. But I'm sure that the wide receivers want to see the quarterback. The quarterback wants to see wide receivers, so things just go hand in hand. But, if I would say that, one of the best situations would be we could go find one of these guys, and then Merck and George, they get that year or two for either one of them to just kind of get more acclimated and get more ready to take over for next year. Or you say, hey, we're going to let everybody battle out. We're going to go get Gaston Moore. We're going to let these three guys battle it out. May the best man win. It's three guys that understand this system better than anybody else that we're going to go find. Okay, that's coming from the outside. So that would be great. And then maybe, the quarterbacks, the whole team, they take that as a challenge, right? They say, hey, we still want to get to the playoffs. We still have these high hopes and aspirations and dreams, and we're going to put in extra work. We're going to go overtime, and we're going to come together. We're going to bond, and we're going to have a really special season. So I think that one of those two options, right? I think that it should be one of those two options. But for me, I don't think that you go out and get a guy that's kind of like a borderline starter, that doesn't know this offensive system, this offensive scheme, and say, hey, we're in a better position than where we were in before. That's just me, at least not at this point. Okay, so that's how I feel about it personally. But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of things that we need to get cooking on. If we don't start to see some names, like I would feel like today, and actually I'm gonna try to get into this chat and see, is anyone bringing up any names? Has anyone heard any smoke with any players? I would love to hear about it. Okay, yep. So right here, heard that we lost Christian Charles, Vol fan for life. Going on, bro? All right, yes, sir. Happy Easter to you as well. All right, GBO. I hope I'm not too late. FUGA, yeah, baby. You already know. Yeah, no, you're definitely not late. Happy that you joined us. From Tony saying that if we don't get a good quarterback from the portal, we are looking at 7 wins tops. I'm kind of there with you, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of there with you. And hold on, let me pull this. Let me go ahead and show you this other quarterback, Sawyer Robertson. Okay, we talked about him before. He's another one that I absolutely love. But saying, yeah, take Merck and George over third string Notre Dame quarterback. Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. Saying that there's a lot of fans just grasping at names. I only want the Hendo Cinco style veteran if we get someone expensive. But let's all face it, it's second year starting the system that proves to be the year. So you know what, bro? I think that's actually a really good point. That I think you brought up several really good points there. So Hendon Hooker, I don't remember. So before he transfers to Tennessee, I don't think that he had crazy numbers. I think that he just kind of looked like a guy that had a really good skill set, but maybe didn't do as much. Now he did come into a system that, as I've said 1 million times, it was new to the SEC. People had to also understand that the system from 2021 to 2022, it was new, and you're going to see success with that. I'm not saying that it's a bad system. I'm just saying that people have now adjusted to it. So, I think the teams have changed what they're doing with their defenses, and it's kind of slowed down what Tennessee liked to do. And then Tennessee kind of went backwards as far as opening things up and doing things that really, to me, make logical sense. I think that the offense was more difficult to operate. That's why we did that video yesterday. If you haven't seen it, you want to go check that out. But talking about Hendo Cinco, he actually, his first season, he actually had good numbers. Now, second year was obviously better, but it wasn't too far off. So I guess I'm saying that just to say that it is possible, because this should be a new look again. Now, it's still kind of like the same base, but if you throw in different wrinkles, if you're throwing in pistol and all this, people have to now adjust to that. So we do have hope. I'm not giving up hope on this team. And I know I saw that right here, talking about 7 wins tops. I'm kind of there with you too. I think that, yeah, we're probably gonna take a step back, especially if we keep on losing people. We got to go add some folks. Like they're gonna have to go add people and add them right now. So I mean, everything's got to be kind of focused there. But we also have Spire Sports. I think that they work for basketball and football, right? They're working on the transfer portal for the basketball team, for the Lady Vols too, right? So it's just this is a really tight situation that we're in. From Brian Stinson is saying that I'm good with Gaston, and I don't think he would upset the quarterback room dynamics. Yeah, that's another part of it. Like, you just don't want to go backwards at all. Says Hendo was good first year. Yeah, second year. Yep, 100%. Let me see if I can get to some. Let me see if we can get to some new people right here. So I'm actually take this thing down. All right, so right here, this is from Max Salzman saying that keep Jake Merck. He's that dude. Yeah, I mean, hopefully he doesn't want to leave. Sounds like he also got a little bit of a raise. Well, I've heard in some places that it was a pretty sizable bump, so that's good for him. I'm happy for these kids to get paid, but that's going to take away from some of the money that people thought that we had to go out and add some more players, which, again, I'm fine with that. You got to hold on to what you have first and foremost, and then you add to that. All right, so right here, we don't know what Nico was going to do this year. I don't know why it would be a down year for Nico. Okay, so he's talking about, yeah, and then that's something else, right? And I've seen other people kind of talking about it. That, yeah, second year, you're going to get better. Again, I'm not trying to make this about Nico, but I just want for people to use a little bit of common sense and have some grace whenever we're saying these things, especially on social media, that understanding that Nico, what we saw from him last season, that was Nico's floor. We only expected him to get better this year. Now, it doesn't really matter because he's not going to be here. But I'm just saying, like, let's not be so quick to jump down people's throats if they're not 100% perfect, or, whether that's on or off the field. Some of the things weren't great. I've heard some more things from people very close to the program coming out with Nico that I don't like. I mean, some of that stuff it makes me look at him a little bit differently. But we have to find a way to move forward and to find success. So right here from Matthew Wilkins is saying, okay, that the play calling wasn't completely great in 2024, but to be fair, there were actually a decent amount of deep shots that the staff dialed up in the games that Nico missed. Bama, yes, that is true. So he missed on some deep shots. I think he missed on more than he probably should have. That's a place that Nico definitely could have gotten better at. Now, the thing about it is, you look at his skill set and you say, okay, if he works on that, all of a sudden, that's probably 5 or 6 more touchdowns that Tennessee has, every year. So that, or for the upcoming season, which is great. But you also have to understand that there were several drops too. There was times when Nico hit people and they just dropped it. Like, people were schemed up wide open and people dropped it. And then there were times when Hendon Hooker missed throws. There were times when Joe Milton missed throws, when Peyton Manning's missed throws, when Tom Brady's missed throws. Like, that is going to happen. So I just want people to understand that part of it too. And that's kind of going back to my point. You got to try to have a little bit of grace and some understanding and say, hey, these are some, especially if they're young guys, they're not going to be perfect. Like, you can't have the expectations that they will be perfect. So either way, saying that the dude from Illinois is not bad. Yeah, I think that he's pretty good for sure. And from Tennessee Smokey is saying that in order to salvage the 2025 season, go get Gaston Moore and bring his experience back. I'm starting to kind of feel like that might be possibly at this point could be our best option. If we can't go out and add a guy with a maybe a higher ceiling physically, then yeah, I mean, that would make the most sense to me. And again, just because you bring in a guy with a high ceiling, physically, it doesn't mean that they're going to come in year one, grasp this system, and especially in such a short time, and have success with this team. From Scott V saying that he knew that Nico had problems when he said that Braun was better than Michael Jordan. I didn't want to believe it. Yeah, man. You know what? I go back and forth with those young kids all the time on it. Like, dog, how can you look at it? And I mean, I can't blame them too much because they didn't have the privilege of seeing both of them play. Like, we got to actually see them play live, right? Like, we're not going back and watching highlights. We understand what that meant, what those games meant, those moments that he lived up to. And of course, I'm talking about Jordan. So they don't have that luxury of having been able to live through both of those players. But yeah, I mean, that's most of them think that way, man, which is crazy to me. So this right here is from Rick, is saying that we need more defensive tackles. 100%. I haven't seen too many good ones inside of the portal. Actually, we can bring that back up and we can go and look at some of the other spots, right? So this will be a good time. Let's go ahead and take a look at quarterback. Is there anything new? Okay, so we got a guy from Minnesota, Zach Pyron. Haven't seen. Oh, okay, so he's already gone somewhere. So it looks like I can't even see because I need some glasses. So he's already gone somewhere. Looks like we got a guy right here from Southern Miss. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's not. You know what I mean? This is the guy right here. This Gio Lopez. This guy that I was talking about, whatever day that was, a couple of days ago. I said that he's going to UNC. So I think that I said that was Chambliss. So Chambliss is the guy that's going to Ole Miss. Okay, so quarterbacks, there's nothing new yet. I mean, if we don't see some names hop into this portal real quick, and I'm not saying it'd be great if it happens today, but I mean, I'm gonna say, shoot, man, if we don't see that by Monday, you got to go get Gaston more. You got to say, you know what, we're not going to be able to make it happen. Let's go get Gaston. Let's build up, let's build up the roster as strong as we possibly can. Let's go throw all the money that we possibly can at, any of these real playmakers, and let's just go to work. I'm saying it that way. All right, so now this is defensive line. So, man, this would have been a perfect one right here, man. This daggum Robbie Harrison. I'm just looking at his size. 6'4", 325. He's from South Carolina. I love the guys that come from the South. I'm just going to tell y'all, it's a different brand of football that we play down South than anywhere else. That's just the honest to God's truth. All right, so he was coming from Indiana, so we could have got him. He's going to Western Kentucky. There's probably a way that we could, it's probably a way that we can make that still work. Hopefully he hasn't signed anything yet. Even if he has, just something that, I don't know if it's still this way. I'm sure that it probably is, but it's something that I know from my, high school days. Even at the Sun, those coaches that, hey, we can find a way to get you out of that. You know what I'm saying? So he would be one for sure, man. We need to be looking at him because we need a guy with that type of size. Just a guy with some good size. Is not going to have to play too many reps. He's not going to get too many snaps. Come in here, learn our system. Coach G's going to get him right. His teammates are going to get him right. Okay, come on in here. We need some big bodies. Add a guy like this. That's what I'm looking for. Right here, 6 feet, 290. Might be a little bit too short for us. I don't think I've seen us have a guy that's 6 feet tall. The shortest that I've seen on our line with Coach G is like 6'2". All right. So I don't know if we'll go to him, but I don't know for sure. 6'4", 250. I'm sure that size has got to be wrong. There's no way that I don't know what he's playing at 250 unless he's playing end or something. 6'2", 300 from Middle Tennessee. You might want to try to take a look at this guy. He's a guy that Tennessee's probably going to try to take a look at him and see, hey, can he come up here? Can he ball? He's down the street. So that would be huge. All right. Who else we got? I mean, I'm not really seeing too many other. This one right here, this is a pretty good looking size here, and it's 6'2", 315. He's a guy that you might want to look at. But what do we got here? 6'3", 300 from Syracuse. Yeah, that'd be a guy that you got to try to take a look at. Okay, so that's pretty much, to me, those look like the ones. What do we got right here? A guy from North Carolina, 6'5", 310. And you would probably, I don't know if you want to go get a younger guy, but I don't think that it too much matters. You just try to add whatever you can add. So what else do we need to look at, y'all? Who else? Let's take a look at some wide receivers. I want to see, and also let me come back and make sure that y'all can see what we have up here. I don't want for y'all to miss it. All right, so I'm going to come back to, wide receivers. Bear with me. I got to switch screens. All right, so this is a guy right here. And then Hakeem Williams. P and I was talking about him yesterday at 6'3", 216. Probably an outside guy. I'm looking for the bigger guys because Tennessee doesn't have too many of them. Now, I would love to do that. I haven't seen him play just yet. Okay, so I had to take a look at him, but he's a guy that I would love for Tennessee to target. You got to go get him. And look, he's a sophomore, so he's going to have I guess he would probably be like a rising junior. So he might be a one and done guy, might have a couple of years, might have 2 or 3 more years, right? So I like that size right here, 6'3", 170. He's a long guy, but that weight right there, how much weight can you put on him safely, heading up to the season? Coming from UConn, I don't know. I mean, you gotta look at his film. You can't always just look at where these guys are coming from and say, hey, they probably can't play, because a lot of these guys probably can play. They just got overlooked coming out of high school. Right here, 6'3", 180, kind of the same deal coming from Army. You're not going to probably see too much from his film, but you should be able to tell, is his skill set good enough? All right. So, I mean, they run freaking, run almost all the time offense, but, would have to gain some weight. 6'2", 200. Okay. He's got pretty good size. But so, I mean, there really isn't too much out there. Like, we've already looked at the guys that you really say, hey, these are the ones that we would like to target. At least for me, you look at their skill set and you say, yeah, we know for sure that they could come in and we're not playing no games, just learn the system. All right, if we gotta try to dumb it down for you, which I think that you should be able to do that. It shouldn't be too difficult. Like, hey, look, this is hey, you're gonna run a fade on this, or hey, this is a drag for you. Tell them. I don't care if the defense knows. See, this is the other part of it, y'all. I don't care if the defense knows what we're doing, right? I mean, I do to some extent, but if you've got good enough players, okay, if you're doing some stuff like, let's say, passing is a little bit different, but especially with that running game, you can tell the other team what you're doing, what you're going to run. They have to be able to physically stop it. So, I think that we should be fine there, but I don't know if we can. I'm not seeing too many names. I guess that's probably the best way for me to say it. I'm not seeing too many names that really jump off the page to me. Tennessee's not in the best spot, man. We're going to have to do some very major tampering. Let me see what else we got as far as the chats. Let's see. Okay, so this one right here is also from Scott V saying that then he said his dad agreed, and I thought, wow, yeah, that says a lot. That says a lot. But yeah, that says a whole lot. I wonder how they feel about Kobe. I know that they're both Kobe fans. Either way, from Rick is saying, okay, yes, we already saw that one. All right. So Phil Other Knees, Georgia won it all with Stetson Bennett. Yeah, man. So I mean, I don't think that we're gonna have that sort of a roster though. Like that, I mean, come on. Like that would be, understand that was one of the best rosters in the history of football, period. They were loaded. And then, they also had one of the best defenses. Like which defense was it? Was it the 22 defense? It might be the best defense in college football history. I don't think that we're gonna, I'm not, I love this team, but I just think that we are so far away from being able to talk like that. You know what I mean? So far away. Like, also keep in mind that they were able to stack up depth and talent over years of no NIL, no transfer portal, and all of that. So they were stacking it up. That team was loaded. Like, I'm gonna say, their blue chip ratio was probably in the upper 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like, ours is now with Nico and all these other guys leaving. Well, not all these other guys, but some of these other guys leaving. Tennessee's probably, like in the 50s. You know what I mean? So like that's the difference right there, just like from a talent perspective. All right, so right here from Tony, from Tony, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Sorry about that, but we don't need Gaston. We need a starter. Yeah, man. So if you feel that way, then you might be very disappointed. That's the other thing that I'm kind of trying to do is, like, let's be honest about things so that if it doesn't go our way, that we don't freak out, because that's one of the biggest things that I'm very concerned with is how is this fan base going to handle if Tennessee takes a step back this season? If we can't go out and add everything that we want, and the insiders have kind of already hinted to this, that it doesn't sound like, I don't think they feel too confident that we are going to go add everything that we necessarily need or that we necessarily want. That's maybe how they feel up to this point. Now, things could always change, but I'm just letting you know, you got to be realistic. I would love for us to go out and get a quarterback, but we're talking about a guy that looked good last season, played well for their team last season. Actually, I'm going to bring up my dog Rocco again, because I really like Rocco. Played very well for their team last season, right? And they're going to have like 3 months to get ready for this year with a totally new team. You're going to have to pay a lot. I'm thinking $3+ million, $3.5+ million at least. It might be more than that. You might have to go pay, what Carson Beck is getting or more to really get these guys out if you really want a starter. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't do it, but I'm just letting you know, realistically speaking, that's what we're talking about here. So that's why I'm saying it might be better to look at it like, how can we operate with what we already have? Like how is the team going to be best suited to operate with the quarterbacks that we already have? Who can we go out and add to be kind of like a backup? And I think Gaston Moore would be the answer to that question. So from Michael Lynn, I apologize for keeping you waiting for this long, but saying that there is no use to look at receivers. We need a quarterback. Yeah, that's that's kind of true. I think that the guys that we have here now, I think that they can do it. They're not slouches. They're just not really proven. But obviously you need one more body. That's where I'm at. So Matthew Wilkins is saying, I haven't been in your streams since spring practice, Bull. What's your final personal takeaways from everything going into summer workout? Should be an interesting summer. Yeah. So for me, I would say that it's kind of at this point, I'm gonna bring this back up for you too. So, oh my bad. Hold on one second. Let me get to, okay. So let me go back. So this is what I think, right? So I think that our scheme is going to be better. I think that the offensive line depth looks good. Okay, I think we're probably going to lose, some backups to the transfer portal from the offensive line, and then running back tight end depth I think looks really good. Defense I think will be very good as well. Still need to go out and add a tackle for sure. Weaknesses for me, obviously quarterbacks, wide receivers, cornerbacks, and star is young, and excuse me. And then, like I said, tackle depth on defense. That's kind of, that's my overall like big picture of how I think this team looks coming out of spring and at this point. But I think that we will be okay. But we're gonna have to, like, we can't lose any more players. And I keep on kind of saying this stuff. Can't lose any more players, and we have to. The team just kind of like needs to rally. We need to figure out what we're going to do, and whatever it is that we're going to do, everyone's got to be 100% on board. And young guys have to step up in a very, very major way. Not just young guys, but new players as well. I'm gonna go through some more of these chats as well. So right here, all right. So this is from Ken saying Haynes King. Okay. So I don't. Okay. So from is Haynes King from Georgia is. I don't understand what's going on here. I don't know. Okay, so from Georgia Tech would be a perfect plug and play. Yeah, so Haynes King for me doesn't fit our offensive system either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he just really doesn't fit it. I don't think that he's a good match, like by any means. Now, I mean, he can run some, you know what I'm saying? Like, he can definitely do that. And he's got a toughness, he's got a grittiness to him. But for me, I don't see him matching up too well with what we like to do here, honestly speaking. So yeah, I know that's another name that's been thrown around a lot. I should probably start trying to clip up some of his stuff. Yeah, man, I don't know what's going on with. I don't know if that's a bot or what. That's crazy how that stuff looks. So from Rick is saying that do we get receivers to help? I'm gonna go to my other guy that I really like is Sawyer Robertson. This is the other guy that I really like. So do we get receivers to help to help a good quarterback, or do we get a good quarterback to get receivers? So you always want to start with quarterback first. If you're going to build a team, that starts with your quarterback. That's the most important person on a football team, period, point blank. So you always want to start it off there. And then everything else you kind of fill in after that. So for me, next would be offensive line stuff. You want to kind of fill that out. Offensive line for Tennessee is already good. And then you start to worry about skill players. Like, that's the last thing that you want to worry about. But yeah, I mean, we need a body. It doesn't have to be the best player to me. I just think that you go find a guy that fits the kind of, fits the makeup and, the size and the skill set that you're looking for. They don't have to have put up a ton of yards and all that. It would be good if we could go get a veteran because we already have so much youth inside of that room. But, I think we can find a wide receiver. We just need to go do it. But kind of back to the first point, I think that you might have to figure out who the quarterback is going to be first. So from Dry FTWX is saying that if we can get Nate, Rodney Rice, and Freeman, Final Four team. Yeah, I think that we're very close with that. That would be out. Well, I'm tripping. Yeah, no, that would be a Final Four team because you threw in Rodney Rice. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it would be hard for us not to, that would be a disappointment for me. It'd be Final Four. And I mean, if you're going to go Final Four, to me, that's championship or bust type of territory. For me personally, I think that we could get it done because Coach Barnes, he's a hell of a coach. You know what I'm saying? The team's going to play really good defense. Now, will they let these guys really ball? Are they going to let Nate ball? I think that you absolutely have to. Let him kind of do what he does. That should help Tennessee to go get more of these types of players moving forward too. So right here from Tennessee Smoky saying that Gaston Moore knows the Josh Heupel offense and can manage the offensive unit. Okay, yeah, for sure. And use the money on offensive tackle and wide receiver. Yeah, so I think that we're fine at offensive tackle, really. Just for me personally, looking at the offensive tackle room, I think that it's really deep. There's some players that we haven't seen go just yet in spring, but from the ones that we have seen, really the whole offensive line, it's looking good. Now, would you feel differently if Larry Johnson leaves? I don't know. I mean, I don't think that you really do. You still got Bennett Warren, you still got Trevor Duncan. Those guys can ball. They looked really good. So I think that we're probably fine with offensive tackle. That's just me, though. Let me see what else we got. So this one is from, okay. So saying that, yeah, 100%. Yeah, man. So and that is true too. And I'm gonna go back. We can pull up Steve again. Just for those y'all that haven't seen him yet, we can pull his stuff back up. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, man. I know that everyone wants to win. Everybody wants to win. We just gotta sometimes again, man. You gotta have grace. I don't want for people to start to turn on Coach Heupel and everything else. I don't want for a bad situation to turn into, man, we taking this thing off of the tracks, and it's just because we still have a future. This is something else that I've kind of hinted to is, do you look at this year and almost, and I know that you probably really wouldn't, but in some ways, maybe you say as a coach, hey, we maybe don't have as high of expectations for this team deep down. We know that, hey, this is going to kind of be like we got to make it through this year type of a season. And we just don't, we want to be able to hold on to the future. We got to try to build for Tennessee's future. That could also be very positive. Like, think about it. You start to put in some of these younger guys and get them a whole lot of playing time and say, hey, you're going to be back next season, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, we got some more coming, right? Like, we got some more studs coming in. And now y'all are ready to daggone rock and roll. Guess what? Quarterbacks, they took their lumps and all that. We're not too much worried about it now. We say, hey, we're taking those steps forward. All of a sudden, hey, man, maybe it's 2026 that is that year. Now, I'm not giving up on 2025 just yet, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there. So from Samuel, sorry to keep you waiting. It's saying that new offensive line, a lot of our defensive line are gone this year. This was always going to be a rebuilding year. Only chance we had was if Nico was a Heisman guy. He's gone. Now, you know what? I think that in some ways, there's some truth to that. Like, really, I think that for me, the reason I've been so high on Tennessee for the past couple of seasons, I said, hey, we have a shot to win it all, was because of Nico, because he has that skill set. Like, his ceiling is so high that if he plays up to that, then yeah, we're going to be hard to stop. And that light could turn on any game for him. But I'm not going to sit here and say, so yes, we have a lot of new starters, but we have people that's been in our system. We have people who are older. We've got some transfer portal players that look really good last season. They look really good this year. I think that the offensive line is going to be a lot better than what Coach Heupel has seen since he's been up at Tennessee. But also looking at that D line, I do kind of have some question marks there because there is we're losing a lot of veteran depth. I think that the tackles, as far as who we have, they are going to be good. I like Tyree West. I like the strong side ends. All right. I like Don Bailey. Leo's absolutely love Josh Josephs. Caleb Herring, we know what he's going to give to us, expecting that step to be taken forward. Jordan Ross, I think that he's going to, man, if he can come out day one and be what our ceiling was for him, obviously he's not going to be at his ceiling, but if he can kind of be like what we thought, which is James Pierce 2.0, then yeah, I feel perfectly fine about our D-line, but there are still some question marks. So I get what you're saying there. I think that for me, the bigger concerns would be with the youth in the wide receiver room. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've got a whole lot of youth. There's a whole lot of new players, but sometimes that could be beneficial to have some guys that are young and they don't understand what that moment means just yet. So they're not thinking about it. They're not over processing. They're just going out and they're just balling. And to me, that's what dogs have to do. I think that we got some dogs inside of that room, but that's pretty much it. I mean, we're losing some more inside of that secondary. So you have to wonder how those young guys are going to step up to the plate and things like that. The linebacker room's deeper than it's ever been. So running back room, like we talked about, looks great. Tight ends, that also looks great. There's a lot of youth there, but I think that they can get it done. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of new things. I don't know if I would necessarily say that this was going to be a rebuilding year if Nico stayed, because I think that even if Nico played how he played last season, I think that the talent surrounding him, the ceiling for the talent by itself is higher than it was last season. He would have had a much better offensive line this year, et cetera, et cetera. So, but now it could kind of turn into that, where we got to see we got to see how things play out. So, right here from Rick is saying, other than Lance Hurd, we have a new offensive line. So they're new as far as not starting, but they're not new, or as far as starting for Tennessee. That is true, but they're not new to this team. And I think that we got some young guys that were very highly rated coming out of high school, like we just talked about it. Then now they've got their opportunity. We have some other guys that are kind of like veterans now that were highly rated coming out of high school, and now they're getting their chance. We actually heard that Shem Umarov is pushing Sam Pendleton for a starting spot. We heard that Jesse Perry, is also kind of pushing there, right? And then those two transfer guys, they played a lot last season. All right. So do I see in? I'm not quite sure what that means. So from Ken, it's saying that, okay. So he's saying that he's not a bot. Okay, so that's talk text message screwed me up. All right. So okay, I got you. Cool. All right, so this one right here is from Samuel saying that if we can get a quarterback, we can make a run in 2026. I think. I mean, listen, I'm not going to say that it's not possible. It's most definitely possible. I just don't think that it's a very realistic. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that a lot of things would have to go very well, which it always does for you to have a championship team. But whenever you look at some of these other teams, I think that that's what really paints that picture. That's what makes the picture a lot more clear, is looking at some of these other guys. And I'm going to pull up. Did we already get to Sawyer Robinson, or should we go to Luke Altmaier now? I'm going to go back to Luke here. But look at the rosters for like Alabama. Okay. Who else do we have on our? Look at Florida's roster. And also look at their quarterback situation. They're in a much better situation than Tennessee's in. You can look at Georgia's roster. The quarterback situation is definitely not great there either. But the rest of their roster is stronger than what Tennessee's is. And look at Oregon's roster. Okay. You could maybe even talk about Michigan. Michigan's a team that's going to be coming up. Look at the freaking Buckeyes. I'm going to tell you, if y'all watch some of their spring practice stuff, I mean, it's ridiculous how loaded they are with talent. It is ridiculous. It's almost like, for any of y'all that's ever played, like video games and stuff, if you've ever played like the college football game, you know how, and I don't know if y'all were like this too, but some of y'all might understand this. When you build that team up on that game, and it's just like everyone's freaking loaded, like, hey, somebody gets hurt, you don't really care because you got somebody that's just as good, if not better, coming in. That's how they look. So there is a gigantic difference in the depth and talent that we have compared to some of these other teams, just honestly speaking. So could we make the run? For sure. I think that having a quarterback coming in new, learning the system is going to be very, very tough. He's going to have to gel with his teammates, but it is possible. All right. It's most definitely possible. So I don't ever want to take away the hope and things like that, because it's most definitely there. So I'm going to get to a few more of these. Papa T is going on. Papa T is saying they give me Sawyer Robertson from Baylor and let's go. Yeah. So I think that he's a guy that could most definitely do some great things for Tennessee. Again, if he can learn this offense quick enough, you know what I'm saying? If he can operate it quick enough, he's got to get on the same page with all these different wide receivers quick enough. And then from MG Wade's going on, dog, saying that he thinks the Coach E needs to rotate guys on the offensive line to keep these guys from transferring. I'm sad that Big Larry Johnson is thinking about transferring. Tells me that he lost to Sanders already. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too, man. It's because David Sanders looked like tremendously good in our orange and white game. Tremendously good. He looked like a potential overall, like future number one overall draft pick. To see an offensive lineman be that daggum dominant as a true freshman versus guys that were wreaking havoc in the SEC. I mean, I saw him going to work on Tyree West. Tyree West is a guy that I've seen. I'm talking about sit SEC offensive linemen down on their butt off the snap. Veterans, guys that are going on to the NFL draft this season. I've seen, David Sanders, I'm not going to say that he was manhandling him, but yeah, he's going to be incredibly good. So, want to hold on to Larry Johnson just for depth purposes, but I think that we're going to be fine at right tackle. All right, so I'm going to take y'all back to some of these Nate clips, actually. Let's go to Nate real quick. All right, we're going to pull up some of this Nate stuff, and then I'm going to get through some more of these chats. So from Brian Stinson is saying that if Merck or Quarles are the real deal, they are your answer for 2026. I don't know who Quarles is. Are you talking about GMAC? I'm not quite sure who Quarles is, but yeah. So from Christopher Harrell is saying that when we did bring in Gaston Moore, he did very little but throw interceptions. Don't sugarcoat it. Okay. So let me, of course he did. So let me try to talk about this whole situation. First and foremost, everyone wanted to see Gaston Moore last season. He does come in, and he did throw that pick versus Alabama. I talked about this before. People are like, oh, Gaston's gonna, he's gonna do this, he's gonna do that. So that is the difference in talent level and understanding that it does take a lot of talent to operate this offense, especially the way that we did it last season. Not saying that Gaston isn't talented. I'm not saying bring in Gaston as a starter. I was saying that if you're looking at the transfer portal and you see that you're not going to go out and get a guy that's a surefire starter and all you can add is a backup because you have to add a guy, then you go and add a Gaston Moore because he knows this offensive system front and back. He knows this team. He knows these players. He knows these coaches. That's an easy, seamless transition instead of going out and getting a player to be a backup that's from outside of the system, that has to learn the system and all of that. At least with Gaston Moore, he knows the deal. So if he has to come in for whatever reason, because he would probably be number 2 more than likely, then at least hey, he knows what to do. He can at least operate this offense. He can, you know what I'm saying? Like, he might not win you the game, but he can operate this offense. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I brought up Gaston Moore. It wasn't to say that Gaston Moore is going to come in and be a starter. That's not at all what I would never. That's not at all what I'm saying. And, I love Gaston, but I'll just tell you, when people were kind of throwing his name out there earlier, that's what I thought that they meant. Bring him in as a starter. And I kind of got a chuckle out of that. That wouldn't be a very good move because I still think that the other 2 quarterbacks are more talented than Gaston is. But you need a backup or you need a third quarterback. So I just think that he would be the best option right there. So from Bobby Taco saying the Vols are going to be good. Defense is stacked. Yeah, I mean, we got to go find some more tackles. Okay, so that tackle room, it's a lot of youth where, we need more tackles for sure. We probably need another safety. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that the defense is going to be fine. All right, so yes, so he's saying GMAC. Oh, okay. All right, so you were talking about GMAC. My bad. So MG Way is saying that, okay, so he thinks that Gaston, that he's a guy that can stop the bleeding until we find our future guy. Yeah, that's all that I was saying there. So please don't take it like I'm saying that, go get Gaston Moore to be the new starter for the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm not saying that by any means. It's just, hey, if the situation is what it is, let's try to make it as clean and seamless of a transition as humanly possible. But that's going to be it for this one, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Baseball team plays at some point today. All right, so I guess I'm going to try to tune into that. I haven't really even watched the baseball team play. I've just been pretty much focusing on what Tennessee's going to do inside of this transfer portal, but it's time to get back into it. So, we might be coming back to y'all tomorrow. Obviously, if we get some updates, we will try to come back and bring it to everybody on the channel. But as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.